Hey, what's up guys? I'm Steven, a salon guy, and I want to thank Christian Perez and Chris Basio for having me on their channel, because I'm really excited to share this information with you today and go over this video with you guys today. And this video is really essential for you barbers who really are struggling with hair cutting in general, especially on longer hair lengths. Now, in my video in the past, I've kind of compared barbers and hairstylists. And barbers, you guys obviously are amazing with clipper work, amazing with short haircuts. And yes, there are a lot of barbers that are good at cutting hair, longer hairstyles. I'm not taking away from you guys. It's awesome if you're doing it. It's great if you can take it on and not be a little intimidated by guys with longer hair that come in. But there's also many of you guys who aren't familiar or comfortable with cutting longer men's haircuts. So this video really is going to be designed to help you understand kind of core fundamentals and essentials of hair cutting that I myself, a 24 now year hairstylist, has learned, and I've taught to thousands of other hairstylists, and I want to share it with you today. So what do we have? We have a mannequin here, which obviously this is a little bit of a longer hairstyle, but what I want to do is I want to trim this up just a little bit and to kind of break down the step-by-step technique of how I'd go about cutting this, leaving a little bit of length. As you can see, it's a little bit kind of heavy in through here, but creating more of a layered shape where we're not going to be taking a whole lot off the top, but I want to show you guys how I go about layering this and really taking this on to help build your confidence and to help you guys out in your barbering career. So I'm ready to go. Let's get started. Okay, so we're going to approach this just like if you were to do any typical men's haircut, which is you want to find kind of the natural parting where the hair falls, and then you want to kind of comb it into place to set yourself up for the end style. Or what you can do is, if you're not really, you want it kind of even down the middle, you just simply kind of create a part right down the middle. And then what I like to do is create 4 different areas and sections to kind of separate the front and the back. And this is something that's really, really key. And you can do this by placing the comb and finding the flat part of the head, which usually ends up being right around here, right behind the ear, and that's called the division point. Okay, so as you can see here, this really dictates the head shape, so you see kind of what you're working with. So what you do then is you take a section and you split this way, because you're separating the front from the back, and that's what we call the division point. And it just gives you a more clear area so that you're a little more concentrated and you're more balanced and organized, let's say, when you're cutting. And you want to be really organized, okay? So now what that does is it leaves us with this whole back area, and this is where we're going to work, and this is where we're going to start our haircut. Now, the key to this is you want to make sure you understand where you want the haircut to live as far as the length. So let's say we're going to take this up to right here. Now, I know a lot of barbers, a lot of you guys, you might have 15 minutes to cut hair, 20 minutes to cut hair. To do this type of haircut in like 15, 20 minutes, I mean, I personally myself, I take 45 minutes to an hour for a men's haircut, and I'm also charging $75 and sometimes more for a men's haircut here at my studio. So compare that to if you're charging, I don't know, $20, $30, I have no idea. But, can you do this in a short 15-minute haircut or 20-minute haircut? You can, I mean, but, it's going to be tough. So I would suggest at least booking out half an hour for this. Now, there's a couple of ways you can go about creating the base shape into here. What you can do now, also, one last thing. A lot of you guys wear gloves, all right? These rubber gloves when you're cutting hair. I mean, for something like this, I personally don't suggest wearing gloves. I don't know why guys wear gloves anyway. I mean, when I use clippers, I don't use gloves at all because I just want to be able to feel it more. You want your hands to be able to really be in control, and every cut you can feel what you're cutting. So I suggest not using the gloves. If you have to use the gloves, go ahead, but I think it might be a little more prohibiting if you're using gloves than using scissors and comb for the most of the haircut. So there's a few ways you can do this really quick. All right, the first thing is you can comb the hair straight down. All right, you want to comb the hair straight down like this, so you basically have a good vision of where you're going to cut this. Then you can come in on this side. So I'm standing right here on this side of the head, the left side of the head, and you can cut straight across, or you can come on the other side like this, and you can cut straight across this way. But just keep in mind, you know, this is the fastest way to do this if you're really trying to save time. So what you do is you lock your shear in like this, and you simply pull away as you're cutting, okay? Now you can come back on this side if you want and simply match it up. And this is really the whole essential part of the haircut. It's creating the base. Once you have this base done, this is the foundation of the haircut, all right? Everyone's hairline is going to be different. That's fine. If you have to go back in at some point and reshape it and balance it out or do what you got, that's fine. You can do what you want. You can always come back to this, but this really gives you a clear vision of, okay, this is where I'm cutting this. Now you have to balance this all out while you're cutting. So there's a few ways you can approach this. The first way is if you comb the hair straight down the middle and you create a center parting right in through here, and you work from the bottom up. Working from the bottom up means you're going to take a section right in the middle and you're going to cut what we call palm to palm, which means you're combing the hair straight out from the head. You're locking your fingers in and your palm is facing you, and now your shears are facing your palm, so your two palms are facing together. That's called palm to palm. That has really good control if you're looking to get really close and tight through the head. And what you want to do is you're going to be cutting downwards. So let's cut our first section downwards this way. Now we still have a lot of hair to cut right in through here. That little bit right there, see that? That needs to come off. And what are you cutting into? You're cutting into the base. The base is this line right here. You're never going to cut that. And that's why when you hold the hair straight out, like this, you're basically cutting to that one point. All right? You're cutting to that baseline. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take another section right next to it. You're going to comb this straight out from the head. And you're going to continue this pattern throughout the entire back nape area, or the neck area. All right? Next section, you're going to push this aside, and you're following a simple pattern of cutting the guide. That's it. That's all you're doing. Now when you get to the very corner, you comb this straight down, and again, you're going to comb this straight back this way, and you're going to cut straight down. A lot of the palm to palm is always cutting downwards. Now, if you're going to reverse it and cut palm to palm this way and cut upwards, as you can see here, we're going to take that little piece off. Now you're cutting up that way, all right? So now we're done with this side. We have to continue on this side. And this is where now we're going to cut palm to palm, but cutting upwards, like that. See what we're doing? Now my body position is pretty much exactly where I'm cutting, all right? I'm not going to put myself in an awkward position. I'm literally standing straight like this, all right? I'm standing straight into right where I'm cutting. I'm not putting my body over this way, or I'm not putting, I literally am making myself feel comfortable. And for those of you who are cutting hair, you know sometimes you put yourselves in these really uncomfortable, awkward positions, body positions, which really aren't helping the situation. It's making it a lot more difficult. All right, so now that's one way of cutting, all right, palm to palm. So then if you need to bring this up a little bit, now you can kind of bring that up the length if you need to. All right, then what you would do is you would then continue the pattern working up the head shape. So now we're going to go above this area, push this out of the way. You don't want your sections to be too thick, but enough that you see your guide. Now here, your guide is going to be down in through here, all right? This piece down here, that is the guide, that short piece right under here. Let's see if we do it this way, okay? That little piece, that is the guide. So what you need to do by cutting this way is you need to kind of match that up. All right, if you cut it too short, you're kind of screwed. If you leave it longer, then you're building graduation or you're going to create a weight line. All right, so I personally, from this point, I like to work from top to bottom for my men's haircuts. I just want to show you guys you can work from the bottom up. So let's see what happens now when we start from the top to the bottom. It's a whole different approach. So what I'm going to do right here is let's bring this back a little bit so you can see. This is the top of the head, obviously the length on the top. We have to cut this. This piece right here will pretty much control the entire haircut. All right, let's bring the mannequin down a little bit. This piece will control the entire haircut because everything is going to kind of live off of this length. If you cut that much off, guess what? Everything on top has to match that short piece. In the back too. So like I said, we're going to leave a little bit of length. So our body position, our arms, everything has to be pretty much parallel and balanced. You never want to drop your elbow down like this because look what happens. When you drop your elbow down, look what it does. You're going to cut down this way. If you raise your elbow up this way, you're cutting short to long, okay? What you want to do, if you're going for a more kind of balanced look, you want to stand exactly behind where you're cutting. Everything is straight, parallel, and you're going to cut straight across. Then what you're going to do, pull it up again this way, and just take that one little piece. Now, what I'm doing is I'm focusing just on this section right here. That's it, okay? I'm not going to cut into the corners. I'm not going to work into the front. This is now my guide for guess what? The back. Now, we let this drop. Remember, where this falls, where you cut this, it's going to fall. Anytime you cut the length, that's where it falls throughout the front or the back. So if you cut this too short, it's going to end up way up here, and then it's not going to be balanced. So sometimes you're better off leaving this part a little bit longer so that you can go back in and kind of take this a little bit shorter. So I always feel it's safer that way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to follow the head shape, so where the hair grows straight out. And now we're going to connect, and here's where I like to kind of follow the head shape and continue all the way down this way. So there's our first section. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow to the next section and make sure it's blended and connected, which it is, and then we're good. So this is where the division point comes in because we're not going into the sides. We're literally just like staying right into the back area, right in through here. Okay, I'm not going into here in the front. I'm not going, I'm really staying focused right in this one area. And now that we're done with this side, now it's time to do the other side. And what I like to do sometimes is anytime you pull towards you, you're basically cutting what's closest to you. So if you want to maintain a little bit of the length and be on the safe side, you want to comb the opposite side. All right, comb on the top, all right? Because you don't want to cut your guide and you don't want to cut a section too short. So you want to comb on top of the side that you're cutting. And we're going to continue until we get just into where the corners meet down and through here. So now we've got this. We created our next section right into here. As you can see, all right, you don't see any steps. So we've got here, now this area, and now we're working down this way. So now we're going to take another section right down the middle. And here is where, let's turn the head this way so you can see. Here is where, now watch this. See this? This is what needs to be cut. So we've got shorter, longer, and then really long, and then short again. So what we need to do is we need to continue following the head shape and removing that weight, because what is that? We're creating weight. And in other words, a step line or a weight line, and we don't want that. So all we're doing now is just really following the head shape. And once you get into a good pattern, everything is going to really kind of stand out, and it's going to be somewhat obvious because you're going to say, oh, okay, I see it now. It's all about following a pattern and making sure that it's balanced and following the head shape. The head shape really is essential. And if you see something that you want to cut, especially if you have like 15 minutes to cut this dude's hair, you don't want to rush it, because the last thing you want to do is cut something that doesn't need to be cut or shouldn't be cut. You don't want to do that, trust me, because then it's too late, especially if the client wants his hair on the longer side. Or if a guy says, oh, I'm growing the top of my hair, don't cut the top. So now you know you can control it with your hands and with your fingers. So as you can see, we're really working along nicely here. And this is where the bottom meets. Now watch. See, this is what we cut before, but we're combing everything straight out. See? And now we're connecting. We're connecting the whole haircut to the nape area and to the bottom. Now my body position, I'm starting to kind of come over the top a little, which could cause a little discomfort. And if it does cause a little discomfort, then you switch palm to palm, which means you're like this. You're standing straight in front of it. I'm comfortable for maybe one more section cutting like this, and then I would switch to palm. But now we're just literally connecting and blending, and I feel comfortable doing this. I'm moving right along nicely. Now, this is what I like to do. The entire back, for the most part, is done now. All right? And this is what I like to do to cross-check. What I like to do is I will start in the corner, like so, and I will comb on a diagonal, a vertical section on a diagonal, and I'm going to comb everything straight out. Now I'm going to see some longer hair that I need to cut, and this is where I can now connect and make sure it's all even, because making sure the haircut is even is really, really important. It's a great way to check the balance. This is where you'll see any longer pieces. And if you see, I always say it, if you see it, when in doubt, cut it out. It means it shouldn't be there. If you see a long piece that's just really, really longer and out of place, that really means it should not be there. So when in doubt, cut it out, but make sure you know why you're cutting. Don't just cut to cut, you know what I mean? Because if you do, and if you screw it up, it's like way too late. But this is what I call kind of cross-checking, and cross-checking really, really is important, and it really helps your hair cutting. And what I'm doing now is I'm literally just kind of coming in on these vertical sections, pushing this out of the way, and then here I'm coming over the top a little bit, which is fine because I feel my body position, I feel comfortable. And look, there's a couple little hairs down here that we need to clean up. And this is from the previous, when I first started doing this haircut, how I started in the back. All right? I don't suggest doing what I did, just to show you guys. Don't start here and then jump right to here. What's happened is created an unbalanced shape, which now I'm going back in to rebalance. So what's going to happen is you're going to come right down the middle, and you're going to end up meeting the two sections. You're going to kind of cross over the center, and you're going to end up going all the way to the corner, which is totally fine. And this is where, once we are finished with this, we can now cross over. Now look, I want to show you guys something. All right? Look at how nice that looks right through here. There's no lines whatsoever. Has an amazing flow to it. We're good. Now, on this side, you want to always tilt the head as well. Tilting the head to where you can have a good angle of approach is really essential. Here's where we need to cut this. Now, here's the longer pieces in through here. And this is where we're going to connect and match everything up. Now, keep in mind again, we haven't gotten into the sides yet, which we'll do that obviously a little bit later. But what we're really looking to do is connect everything like so. Hair has to make sure, you have to make sure that everything really flows together. And the more you put into this, guys, like, the more you're gonna get out. I know there's gonna be there's a lot of female barbers, even if you're a hairstylist. I mean, this is just like learning an essential kind of, men's haircut, but I'm kind of featuring this and focusing this more towards barbers because I've gotten lots of requests for this, and I like teaching. So now here we go again, coming down on the diagonal like this, and here's where we're cross-checking to make sure everything is even, balanced. And believe it or not, I know this seems like a ton of work, and you're like, dude, I only have like 5 minutes to cut some guy's hair. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Sorry, sorry you booked that short a time. And I know a lot of owners want you guys to work fast and efficient. I mean, there's chain salons, the corporate office, you literally are trained to do haircuts in 15 minutes. Like, it takes me 15 minutes just to like consult with somebody. You know what I mean? Like, I can't do a haircut really in 15 minutes. That's me, okay? So here's that. And then another way to cross-check, which is great, is to, let's bring this head up a little bit so you can see, is just real quick. If you are in a super rush, pull everything straight out from the head horizontally. Straight out from the head, because that will immediately show you what's balanced and what's not balanced. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if you pull this straight out and you got one hair way out here and one, that means your haircut is unbalanced. So if you see it, get rid of it. If you see it, it's way too long and needs to come off. And this is a really quick way to check everything and make sure it's all balanced. So here I am pulling everything straight out. Okay, there might be one little section there, one little piece. Go back in, double check. You really want to make sure it's all really connected together. So now, the whole back of the head is done. What do you do now? You have to think of it this way. This has to connect with this. How do you do that? You take a little piece, little section from the top right into here. So now what we're doing is I went a step forward from the last section, which was back here. I took a horizontal section right here, and now what we're going to do is connect, and we're holding it straight out from the head. Now look, see? Look at that. That's the difference. This needs to connect. So what do? We make sure our elbow and our arm is parallel with the section, and we cut straight across, and we drop that down. Next section, stand right opposite from where you're cutting, and cut it. Comb it straight up and cut. Now we're done on that side. Now the opposite side, remember what I said? You want to push, you want to cut on top of the section you're cutting. So now we're pushing away. And one last section here on this side, straight up and cut. So guess what? We've connected the back into the top. And now what we can do is we can work in a horizontal section to the very front. And we do that by splitting up the area of the corners, because the corners are a whole separate part of the haircut. And then I take a section right here, right down the middle, and here's where we comb everything straight up. Straight up, there's the guide, and straight across. And look what we do. Next section, right down the middle, straight across, take a piece from the previous. A lot of this, it looks kind of like, oh my gosh, this is nuts. But what it is it's really connecting the dots, and it's just keeping everything well balanced and organized. Being organized, you can do a haircut in 15, 20 minutes if you're super well organized. Can I do this haircut in 15 minutes? Yeah. I personally am a talker, so I like to talk a lot. So that's what, most of my haircuts, I'd say it's 90% talking and 10% cutting. But you can keep really organized. So look, I just finished the whole top section. This top section's done. Now we have to connect. And here's where you start to get rocking and rolling in through here, is now you have this done, you have the center, and you have the corners, the round of the head, which is here, and then the actual sides. this isn't the sides. This is still technically the top or the corners. But what you need to do is you need to connect this and kind of soften that up or round it out. And everyone's different depending on the haircut, but the reason I'm doing this is because we're doing kind of a little bit of a longer type men's haircut. So we're leaving a little more length on top. But look how fast I'm flying through this. All right, if you are fast with your hands, can you do this in 15, 20 minutes, half an hour? Yes, because look what we're doing, see? We're literally flying through this whole thing. Now, we've got the corners. All right, now it's time for the very, very bottom. And this is the very bottom in through here. This is technically really what the sides are. So now we comb this straight out, and depending on you, if you want to taper this down a little bit, you can cut it a little bit shorter. That way, you can taper it in like that, because you want it to be a little more tapered around the ear. Now keep in mind, we haven't cut around the ear. We haven't done anything like that yet, because we can save that for last. Those cleanups and all that can be done, you know, after this is done. But keep in mind, this is the very, very bottom right here. You never really want to cut the bottom length, okay, because that is what's going to save you. That's what the solid base is. You want to have a good solid base. You can always go back in and get rid of it later. So let's go back here now. All right, look at that, all that hair down here. There. Now, let's do the same. Remember in the back what we did? We went in the horizontal diagonal. Now look, here we can do that again. And we're going to cut those corners right in through here. And now we're going to connect the sides. And how do we do that? Well, we comb it straight down. And we can cut straight across. Now what we're doing is creating our fundamental base shape right into here. This is the outline. This is the outline of the haircut. So we're going to bring this all back, and now it has a perfect flow going all the way from here all the way back into here. Now, can you cut around the client's ear? Yeah, sure you can, you know. I personally am just leaving it a little bit longer because I want you guys to see what it's like working with longer hair, all right? But always make sure this is all connected together. When this all comes back, it's all even. So how do you take on the other side? Again, what I like to do is stand in front of the client, comb it straight out, and there is the hair that needs to be cut. If you stand behind the client, sometimes I feel like my body is perfectly straight right now. Like I don't feel uncomfortable. I'm not reaching over. I'm literally just standing exactly in front where I'm cutting. And that really, body position really will control the haircut. Your body position and your arm position is what controls everything. So now here, we got the corner. Here's the side here. And we're following the same pattern. Cutting up and connecting. A lot of it's connecting the dots, like I said before. And you might have to adjust your body position. You know, obviously, the lower you go, it's going to put you in a different position. See how I'm crouching down a little bit? You're going to get to the point where you're going to be like, oh, my back is killing me. That comes with old age, folks. But also, you know, what you can do now is you can go palm to palm, which means now I'm going to reverse my hands and I'm going to cut downwards this way, because that'll allow me to get a little bit closer to around the ear area. So now I can see all that length down through here? This is the only way I can do it comfortably without hurting myself, because you will put yourself in an awkward body position. And trust me, it does not help you in your future with your career. You do not want to have to bail out of this industry because of bad back pains and everything, because of bad body posture. So now, here we go. Remember what I said? Connecting. Hold this out. And now let's wait for it. There's the side right in through here. Connect this little piece. And now we're going to continue to cut straight across right here. Bring it straight down, and you're following the guide. Okay, you're following the head. The shape is basically jumping out at you. And now what you're doing is you're just piecing it all together. Okay, a lot of hair cutting is also thickening and pulling everything together and putting the pieces of the puzzle together. All right, it's like building, it's like architecture. You're making sure it all is solid. You don't want any holes anywhere, any dips, any sort of weird kind of thing. You want to make sure everything is connected together. So now, same thing like we did on the other side. You bring this all back and you check to see how the flow is, and it's got a great flow. Now, what I like to do, just to check, to make sure everything is balanced, you want to take a step back and you want to pull the hair down like this to make sure it's perfectly even. And trust me, for as long I've been cutting hair, I'm usually never even. They don't call me Even Steven, all right? I'm Uneven Steven. So I'm going to go back in and just trim up a little bit of the length to make sure it's all to my liking and all even. But we are almost done, believe it or not. The very front, comb this all straight down. And what's going to happen, you're going to get freaked out because you're going to say, oh my God, this whole front section is longer. That's fine. As long as this is the longest point right in the center, then you're good. But what I'm doing now is I'm really seeing everything as it's kind of laying, as it's falling. Because you really want to be sure that everything is balanced. And if it's uneven, then you go in and you just cut it because you set up your foundation, you set up your base, you're good. Do not ever cut this really short. Don't ever go in and chop this off because once it's short, it's too short. Trust me, it's way too short. So now what we need to do is we need to make sure this is all connected on top. We're not done yet, almost. How do we do that? This is a quick little trick. This will be a lifesaver for you. You comb this straight down the middle. Okay, or close to it. Comb it. Remember, the head, a lot of times people think the hair goes straight up this way. All right, look this way. It doesn't. It doesn't grow straight up like this. Hardly anyone's hair does. What it does do is it grows out. It grows out this way a lot of times. Okay? So what do you want to do to make sure it's balanced? Here's that piece. Here's that piece. What is this? Bye-bye. It's excess weight that does not need to be there, which is going to prevent the hair from having a nice flow to it. Don't want to cut too much, but at the same time, you want to remove that excess weight so you don't have, a lot of times you see guys, I've seen it, barbers, this is the longest point of the haircut right here. This is short and this is the longest. Doesn't make any sense. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that it's all kind of connected. So don't go super short in the front. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that everything really is balanced and flows together, which is what we're doing. Then, again, like cross-checking, like on the sides, go back in, comb it straight up, and make sure it's all kind of connected and balanced. Now, trust me, that client who might be paying $30 or $40, whatever it is you're charging, he is going to appreciate, even though he might not be knowing what's going on, he will appreciate the amount of labor that you put into this. And you have to let him know. Guys, you have to sell yourself of your haircutting skills. You have to say, look, John or Mike, whatever the heck your name is, I put a lot into this haircut. I know it's taken me longer than usual, or, you might have gone to the places and they take 10 minutes to do it. I'm putting a lot into this haircut because I want this to grow out really well, and I want you to get the most out of this haircut so you're not back in here next week saying, what happened to my haircut, And that really goes a long way. That's simple, not really customer service, but it's really maximizing what the client is getting. It's maximizing the value of a good haircut and what taking your time can really do, all right? How it can really save you. So now, the haircut pretty much is done. What I like to go back in and do is I like to run my fingers through it I like to double check, and you can cross check by pulling it out this way with your hands, make sure it's all good. If you need to thin it out a little bit, you can thin it out if you want. I mean, but if you give a good haircut and you layer it properly, everything should be fine. Now, as far as blow drying it, what you want to do is, pardon me, I'm going to put this on low for now, so you can hear me. This type of haircut, literally, is just letting the haircut do a lot of the work. Raking it back with your fingers sometimes is the best technique. Your fingers act as a great brush, trust me. You can lock in your fingers like this and create lift. You can really control a lot of it with your fingers. See what I'm doing right here? If I held a blow dryer like this, I'm gonna get, look at that, I'm gonna get a nice amount of volume right in through here. So what you wanna do is really use your fingers to blow dry this whole thing and to create some nice lift and some nice volume. And you can do that without a brush. And I put no product in it, believe it or not. Everyone's sold on pre-stylers and this and heat protectants. I mean, do they work? Obviously, yes. A pre-styler is good if you want to get, volume in your hair and you're not a professional. That's what they're for. But just keep in mind, you can do a lot with your fingers and your hands, especially us as professionals compared to non-professionals. We can go in there and really, really create a nice full shape. And especially with the haircut, if it's a good haircut. I mean, this is a men's haircut. Look how full it is, And then what you can do is you can put product in when it's done. So I'm gonna finish blow drying this, and then we'll break everything down when we're done. All right, so now we're gonna get a little closer, and I like to use a wide tooth comb like this. If you really wanna have a flowing type shape where it looks really kind of natural and not like a lot of not a stiff kind of look, you want something with wide teeth, because obviously what that's gonna do, it's going to kind of separate the hair. Instead of using a fine tooth comb, it's gonna actually pull the hair together and really make it tight as far as the hair follicles, really make them closer together, where the wide tooth really brings out layers in a haircut. And that's why I think for something like this, you wanna bring it out. And then you can also maybe put some product in here if you want. But let's take a look at this from the side. And I mean, look at this flow. Like, if you can create something like this, you need to be charging, I'm telling you, at least $45 at least for a haircut, for a men's haircut like this. And if you can really really master this, and you see what you want to do, and when you're finishing your client, a lot of guys, they'll take off the cape and all right, you're done. Like, no, you want to continue selling what you just did and continue highlighting. Say, wow, John, look at this. See how this flows back? All these layers I created, this is going to help you as it grows out. So you can really grow this out, John, for like another 2 or 3 months. And because of the way I cut this is going to grow out so nicely. It's not going to be heavy. It's going to have a beautiful flow like it does now, just a longer version. So you can actually wear your hair longer like this and grow it out. And like 4 or 5 months, your hair will look good. I mean, and that's the whole secret to this whole thing. And here's the other side. All right, this side might be a little bit longer, but I mean, look at that flow. All right, you can create this, guys, and you really are on the path to really good hair cutting. And here's the back. As you can see through here, it's got beautiful layers, really nice shape to it, and it has a great flow, like we mentioned, okay? So I really hope you guys enjoyed this haircut. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments below if this helped you out, if this saved you, if you're like, oh my God, Steven, thank you so much. Like, you're a lifesaver. I have a whole new perspective on cutting. Let me know, because I'd love to hear from you if this really helped you out. And I know you guys really like these in-depth step-by-step tutorials. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time for more videos with the Salon Guy.